this is Stu. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do a two-stage window tint on a 2016 Lexus GX460. These are the first generation of the GX460. So I'll show you all the tools and I'll show you all the steps. So let's get right into it. I'm going to start by just prepping my glass. In this case, I'm using the 3M Doodle Bug. I'm just going to make sure that we get this nice and clean. I'm going to run my towel on the top edge once or twice. Tends to usually be the dirtier side. So now go ahead and squeegee this. Use my easy reach, sweep my sides. Go ahead and roll the window all the way up. And I can now clean the bottom as well. Go ahead and squeegee that. Now that my glass is all prepped, we're going to go ahead and get a piece of film on top of the outside of this glass and start cutting this down. So I've measured my glass from side to side, and I went about an extra inch on each side. That was 38 inches. So now I'm going to put some flip on my glass. Go ahead and put my film on here. I'm going to have the film liner facing me, as always. So I'm going to go and make sure that I get full coverage on all four sides. As soon as I got that, I'm going to just go ahead and lock my film. This just ensures that this film is not going to slide on me. And now I'm going to use my marker to make a couple lines. We're going to go ahead and wedge that marker in here. Now that I've got all three lines, sides and bottom, I'm going to just roll this window down a little bit and do my top cut. Now for this top cut, I'm just going to spray a little bit of water on here. I'm going to take out the three blade tips, poke through my film, put a little bit of pressure against the top edge of this glass, and just ride it all the way back. From here, pull away. And now I can go ahead and take this glass and go ahead and cut it on my glass on the wall. From here, all I have to do is trace my lines. We're going to cut 1/8 of an inch to the outside of my line because we need a little bit extra to the left, to the right, and to the bottom to ensure that the film actually slips underneath the gasket and to the sides. And when we install, that's going to leave no light gaps all around. So let's go ahead and cut this and all the other sides. And every corner will also be rounded. So I like to use the top of my finger and just run my blade directly over it. It gives me a nice rounded corner. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So I brought my pattern back to the vehicle. I set my film up about an inch above this gasket here, and I'm going to shrink this bottom line here of this film to try to eliminate any fingers, which basically means that the film has too much curve and it needs to be shrunk to tighten up against that glass. And the reason we do that is when we install this, we don't want any fingers coming up. This will not only just eliminate the chance of contamination, but ensure a proper fit. So I'm going to just go ahead and shrink that. I'm going to use my hard part here. I get my heat gun on high. Now this glass didn't really give me much for fingers, so I'm just going to go ahead and lift this and do a double snap shrink, basically just meaning I'm going to shrink a second time. Now I do have more fingers this time, but that's because I kind of created them myself by lifting the film. And that's totally okay, because we do want to shrink something just to ensure that the bottom is a tight fit. Once that's done, I'm just going to go ahead and take this film. I'm going to reposition it slightly lower on the glass, just like so. Now we can go to the inside. Okay, so it's been a little bit since we're on the inside, so I'm going to go ahead and just do a final cleanup. So I just use my squeegee. Use my easy reach. And now I can go ahead and apply slip in preparation for the install. Now I do want good glass coverage. Try to avoid any dry spots. So now let's go to the outside and grab our film. I'm going to ensure that I have plenty of slip as well. On this side, I've now pulled my liner, so I am on a limited time frame. Any contaminant could happen at this time, so we're going to quickly move over and get this film brought to the inside. I'm going to go ahead with my long side first and just get that on the glass. Now, if you just gently touch your film, it actually hold on to the glass, which now you can manage a little easier. So we're going to go ahead and just shove this side in here first, real gently, and try to get the whole top of that film flat against the glass. So now that I've got that film all fed in, I'm just going to line up my top edge, make sure that it is how I want it, uniformed across the entire top edge. Once I like it, I'm going to go ahead and just take off my soft squeegee in this case and just dress it. Yeah, just do a nice 50-50 overlap. Make sure I don't miss any of that slip. Now, if I wanted to make adjustments now, this would be the time. With a soft squeegee, you haven't got rid of all the moisture, so you may still be able to slide it around. In this case, I'm happy with it, so I'm going to just go ahead and come back now with my Blue Max. Now I'm applying a little bit more pressure and trying to extract a lot more of that water from behind. And then use my easy reach and capture any of the side water. I'm going to gently wipe. And from here, I can roll my window all the way up. Now, I got to do the two-stage, which means I got to check this bottom. Now, on this vehicle, if you notice the Lexus, this door card kind of rides up. So we're not going to be able to get a squeegee behind here, but we'll still be able to get the water out. We'll just have to utilize our easy reach card. So I just wanted to point that out. If you do have a GX460 in front of you and you're doing a two-stage, that disc can be a little bit of a piece that's a little bit more challenging, but we'll get right over it. Okay, so now I'm here on my lower half. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift my film gently and use some of my slip to clean up any of that window that was behind the gasket, because that might have caught some contaminants. So we're using the slip to push some of that stuff down, as well as just get a little bit of lubrication. I'm going to go ahead and pull this liner off real gentle. And as I'm doing so, I'm just going to capture my film here so it doesn't touch the door card. I'm going to put a little slip on the film itself as well. Now from here, we just got to tug both sides in. So I'm going to start with this side first and just get this corner rolled inward towards the glass and behind the gasket, which will allow me then to just push it into the side. And sometimes it gets jammed, so you may need to use your easy reach just to open up that gasket. Once you got that, now we're going to work on this side. Now this side, like I said earlier, has a much bigger corner, so we actually got to work that film around there, which is no problem either, but it's just something a little bit different. And on this one, I'm going to have to assist by just opening up the gasket back there, making sure that that film falls behind. Okay, so now I get this bubble that naturally formed itself linear. So I'm going to just open the gasket, feed the film in there. There should be very little forcing of any kind, because the film should fall right in place. If you cut it accurately, the film is not going to view too much film, so it should be easy to slip in there. Just enough to cover both left and right side against slight gaps and to tug behind the gasket. So go ahead and just initial squeegee. Now I'm going to come back one more time. This time with my Blue Max. just to lock it in place. Now we're using a lot of pressure once again. Like I mentioned earlier, this little area back there, we're gonna have to just use our card, but we're gonna put a little more tension. I'm actually gonna use the shorter edge because this is a harder side of the card, which is gonna give me a little bit more extraction. From here, I'm gonna go ahead and come back to the outside, clean my glass. I'm inspecting for any contamination as well as light gaps on the sides. If I see no light gap, no contamination, then this is good to go. Now in this vehicle specifically, you do want to check this corner here, make sure that you get all the water out. You can leave a tiny bit of moisture, it'll dry out on its own, but you cannot leave actual visible excess water. So a little bit of moisture, it's fine. And if you do this, you'll know what I'm talking about. We can get the water out and still leave a tiny bit of moisture and it'll still dry. Now it's important you tell this client not to roll the windows down. That'll give the opportunity for this glass to truly settle in place and dry and not have the risk of peeling. So that's how you do a two-stage window tint on a 2016 Lexus GX460.